Now on BBC4, a profile of one of the world's most prominent campaigners against torture. Former Beirut hostage John McCarthy explores the life and career of Helen Bamber.
Please, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stage Helen Bamber, the director of the Medical Foundation.
At London's Piccadilly Theatre, an audience gathers to raise money for survivors of torture. The guest of honour is a woman who has given a voice to its victims, Helen Bamber.
Thank you so much for being here, ladies and gentlemen. It's wonderful. A little boy passed by. I said, how many people are out there? He said 7. He did. He said 7, and his father said, say 700. He said 700. So I felt a bit better.
I once asked Helen, how did you get involved in this? Why have you been doing this kind of work, which is terribly demanding, for over 50 years? She thought just a minute, rather puzzled, quizzical look on her face, and then she burst out laughing, and she said, because I couldn't think of anything else to do.
She has a canny mixture, I think, of political astuteness and warmth, so she could see what people needed emotionally, as well as what political changes needed to happen to enable people to get these things.
It's going to be a fabulous, wonderful evening. I do thank you yet again for being here, for sharing this with us, and we'll meet outside. Thank you.
It's 8 o'clock in the morning, and 77-year-old Helen Bamber is the first to arrive at the office. She set up the Medical Foundation in 1986 to document claims of torture and care for the victims. Since then, over 30,000 people have benefited from its work. Despite the many United Nations conventions outlawing torture, over 110 countries are known to use it. For its clients, the Foundation's reports can mean the difference between life and death.
Linda, this is very urgent. It has to reach the solicitor by midday. So if you could be kind enough to draft it out just as it comes off the machine, and we'll alter it then. I'm starting now. Now look, I've got a very urgent report to do. I'm really near tears. His condition is deteriorating.
The stories of torture are often so horrific that they are unbearable to listen to. Yet putting the details down on paper can make them sound almost banal. Helen Bamber has found a way of recording the facts whilst keeping the humanity of the victim to the fore.
With dressing and toilet one. And toilet matters.
I first met Helen soon after my release from captivity as a hostage in Lebanon in 1991. We were at a busy London social event.
Mrs. Bamber, good morning.
Yet, as soon as we started to talk, all other distractions fell away. It was as if we were alone and had all the time and space in the world.
Tea or coffee?
Coffee would be lovely, I think.
Coffee and a bicky.
A bicky would go down the treat, it would be super.
Even a piece of fruit cake.
Possibly, yeah.
Helen and the Medical Foundation aim to give survivors of torture that time and space to heal.
Forwards. Go on. That's very good.
Turkish journalist İlhan Karatape spoke out for the Kurds and was arrested. His jailers beat him mercilessly, being careful not to leave any physical marks.
Just relax, don't do anything.
A doctor's assessment of the lasting medical effects can be crucial to a client's future.
I'll do that. Is it buzzing?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that buzzing?
Yeah.
Right. He's had a lot of head injury. He's been knocked unconscious. And I want to see if it's damaged his central nervous system. So far, the tests are satisfactory, but often they are not.
After his capture by Ethiopian government forces, Gamai's feet were repeatedly flayed with electrical cables.
So it works the legs.
Helen actively encourages her colleagues to explore new therapeutic techniques.
And when Gamai was young, he used to walk many miles with these feet. Do you want to tell them a bit about the history of these feet, Gamai?
They catch me and they took me to the prison for more than 5 months. They hit me in my feet, and if they hit you from here up to even my hair, I feel, but so 3 men, they hit me turn by turn. This is for 5 months. So, I don't know.
Gamai?
Therapist Dr. Michael Korzinski uses touch to engage with Gamai's damaged body to help heal his emotional wounds. It was at Belsen that Helen first encountered the human impact of state-organized violence. When British troops arrived in 1945, they found thousands who'd escaped death in Nazi extermination camps. Helen, then aged 20, volunteered to go from London as a Jewish relief worker. One of the welfare officers she worked with was Alison Wood, now in her 90s.
Oh, hello.
The contact with the camp victims made a lasting impression on Helen.
I was a woman, I can see her now, and I remember, you know, this was typical that they would hold you and dig into you. Yes. You remember. And she rocked, as children, deprived children rock, and we rocked. And I realized in a way that I couldn't do anything else but to receive her, what she was telling me, and that had to be enough.
It's what you do, the containment. You were able to contain the awfulness and the circumstances of what you were told. And I think a lot of us, when we begin to hear awful things like this, we're apt to tell everybody else and kind of spread it around that we need to get rid of it. You didn't do that.
No.
You were able to contain it and eventually use it to teach yourself even more. I mean, your smile, your laugh, and your ability to quickly get into touch with people is a tremendous asset.
Yes,
I told you, I think when you spoke to me, when I first met Helen, she was really one of the prettiest people I'd ever seen.
Oh.
And goodness me, that was useful. It always is. It always is. But I mean, you were people.
Is that why I was always being sent off to negotiate with some awful
general or something?
General about people who cross the border illegally.
Helen was born in London, the only child of a family of Jewish refugees from Eastern Europe. Her father was consumed by horror at the rise of Nazism and dread over the coming fate of European Jews.
You know, I was brought up in a household that was constantly talking about people being persecuted, being taken, being sent to concentration camps, being chosen for persecution. And I was aware, really, that if Hitler had succeeded and had come to this country, certainly my father, for his activities, would be fairly quickly eliminated, and so would we all. And I did have a fear. I did grow up with fear.
I was very angry sometimes with my father for this imposition of other people's need and other people's tragedy, and we used to. I used to sit on the stairs at night in the 30s, and he would translate for me Goebbels' speeches and Hitler's speeches. Meanwhile, my mother would be making chocolate eclairs or preparing for a Tuesday evening, which was a sort of open house thing.
Did your father's understandable concern about those things, but that went further? Did you actually have the caring for victims or refugees?
Oh yes, because there were refugees who came to our house, and they had a profound effect upon me. There's no doubt about it.
Helping victims of persecution became a lifetime's work for Helen. It was the 1973 coup in Chile which focused the world's attention on torture. Military dictator Augusto Pinochet rounded up thousands of supporters of the elected president, Salvador Allende. Torture was used routinely to crush all opposition. More than 3,000 people were never seen alive again. Former political activist Luis Muñoz was imprisoned and tortured by the Chilean security forces for more than 2 years. The Red Cross secured his release and brought him to Britain. At the time, Helen was a volunteer with Amnesty International.
He was emaciated, very unwell, experiencing tremendous bodily pain. He'd been suspended with his arms behind his back and suspended with his feet off the ground so that the full weight came to his shoulders, and electricity had been placed on the sensitive parts of his body so that in that position his muscles went into spasm and he experienced enormous pain. And I believe that there was some tearing of a muscle in his side, which caused him immense pain.
Lots of people, people who they knew they had relatives or they loved their relatives or mentioned them, so they would threaten them to bring them in and torture them in front of them. And invariably people said, leave my family out of this, and invariably they brought them in. But when my turn came, and I was fearing that the time would come when they would mention my daughter, I said to them, and they said, oh, you've been fooling us. You said you were going to cooperate with us, and you haven't told us anything, so we're going to bring your daughter, and you will see. And I said, bring her. Defiantly and with rage, probably, I said, bring her in. And they didn't.
He said to me afterwards, this is what torture does to you. I think, actually, it was this reaction of his that, in fact, saved him, and possibly his daughter. Because I think they realized, the torturers realized, that nothing they did, short of killing him, would break him.
I live in exile, and I've seen my daughter in few opportunities, but the times I've seen her, and it's kind of difficult for me to look straight in the eye, look at her and not feeling this thing that one day I put it on the table, and the negotiating table, if you like.
I learnt from him, I suppose, more than anyone else, what happens under torture, in the sense that the defences you build in order to withstand pain and to withstand the questioning, the interrogations, and to withstand being totally overwhelmed, collapsing completely. Those defences cut off your feelings, they cut off your ability to even to remember those that you loved.
What are the other elements of the jumble that you have to perhaps help your clients or indeed yourself to untangle? What do you think are those elements after trauma?
Anger. To allow them to be angry. Society doesn't accept anger very easily from people who they feel really haven't got a right to be here.
Helen's approach to the anger is to provide an outlet at the foundation. Therapist Sheila Melzak holds a weekly support group for teenagers fleeing today's political conflicts.
Is it really as bad as being tortured in your country? Really been tortured in prison? Yeah. Is it really as bad as it was in prison?
That's physically, yeah, mentally, that's mentally. That's
you feel it's like mental torture?
It hurts your feeling because sounds like nobody don't care about you. Sounds like just people just like someone had picked you up and put you somewhere and leave you there forever.
Maybe they think that to be an asylum seeker.
Self-expression can also come through art. Some of Melzak's clients are as young as 9, survivors of ethnic cleansing in Kosovo.
On the day that my house was bombed, before it was bombed, I had a funny feeling that something bad was going to happen. And looking back, I wish that I had been inside with my parents and not sitting on the roof. That's something he dreams about sometimes. And then he had a journey from his village through the whole of Kosovo and eventually to England. And on that journey, he saw many, many acts of cruelty and murder, which children really shouldn't see. Particularly this common event of killing pregnant women and taking the baby out of their abdomen. So this is another of his dreams, saying, this is Uncle Ahmed being shot by a tank.
That's my village, Korish. This is what Serbs were doing.
Bahram Amataj's family and neighbours were chased from their Kosovan village by Serbs. After robbing them at knife point, the Serbs herded them into a factory compound.
In
this house, a host family was burned alive. My brother's body is in there. There's my brother. That was my uncle's tractor again.
Most of the family were killed in a hail of NATO bombs, including Bahram's 2-year-old daughter, Fiorentina.
I used to think that that little girl was my daughter.
But it's not my daughter.
It wasn't.
To help them come to terms with the loss of their daughter, Helen has arranged for the Armitage family to plant a commemorative tree in the Foundation's Memorial Garden.
If you hold the spade. Yeah.
Helping victims of organised violence, as well as torture, is a growing part of Helen's and her colleagues' work.
Just thinking of my own experience when I was locked up and then coming home and thinking, well, you know, I was lucky, of course, I did come home, unlike the clients of the Foundation who, you know, living in exile if they can. But I didn't want to talk about it when I came home. Not that I felt, you know, I didn't want to talk about it, it's terrible. I just thought, well, I want to get on with my life.
There's always something in a society, particularly our own, which is about getting on with your life. You know, these cliches about putting the past. Doctors use it. You know, you must put the past behind you. You must get on with your life. It's nonsense. You can.
Time is a great healer.
Yes, time is a great healer, whereas, of course, it often compounds, as we know.
Helen's reputation has spread among human rights activists around the world. There have been frequent reports that Israeli armed forces are using torture on Palestinian prisoners in their custody.
Hello.
Palestinian psychiatrist Dr. Ayed El-Serraj is hoping that Helen and the foundation will bring their expertise to examine and treat the victims.
And they let you out, more to the point.
Well, this time it was very good.
Was
the
it?
Israeli security officer who serves me in the airport said to me that she is for peace and she is against Sharon. And that was miraculous.
She said that to you?
She said that to me.
My God, it's worth going to the airport.
This time I kind of treat me. Very good.
What is it now that we on the outside can be doing? And I think we could do some documentation work.
First of all, that you come.
Yes,
that's very important.
Mm.
Your presence there is very important because of your caliber, your stature, and of course, being there with a team of experts. She's a rare and unique woman in the same time. Being Jewish and subjected to so much persecution, to have that kind of empathy for the Palestinians today was for me a marvelous experience. It exposed me to this side of humanity, of Jewishness, which for me, that was fantastic for me.
Helen never misses a chance to pursue justice for her clients. One such opportunity came in 1998, when an elderly Augusto Pinochet came to London for medical treatment.
I knew he was here, and I was feeling, I started to have nightmares again and all that. After all these years, I was feeling annoyed. I said, that bastard, and I'm having nightmares again. And suddenly Helen Bamber, the telephone rings, and it's Helen Bamber on the other end of the line. I said, this is probably the second or third person, one of the few first person. She said, Luis, Pinochet has been arrested. I said, what?
I had personally, such a sense that at last, you know, human rights would have a meaning. Justice might be done, or might be seen to be done.
So I phoned Helen and said, I'm going to the medical foundation now. I said, just come here. I went there, said, to the top floor, and said, here is the computer, here's the telephone, this is your office. Do what you need to do.
As Pinochet's former victims rallied, the medical foundation went to work.
We were again back on the phone trying to locate these clients and former clients in Geneva, in Santiago de Chile, in Famagusta, in St. Petersburg, Brussels, Stockholm. Helen was all over the place on the telephone trying to find her former clients who were exiles from Chile. Some had returned to Chile. But Helen was determined that we would pull together a dossier of affidavits that could be used in any forthcoming Pinochet trial or extradition hearing or whatever.
Today is a victory for Chile people.
Bravo!
Come on, guys.
Salud, salud.
Human rights, it's a victory, it's a history for us.
There were some glorious scenes of joy that a man who'd come here to be, I don't know what he'd come for, but to meet Mrs. Thatcher.
To be treated with respect is a great...
Yes, he expected to be treated with respect, was vilified. Yeah. And time again we spoke about his crimes, and I think that was important.
The Pinochet files remain at the foundation, awaiting any future prosecution. Helen believes that getting justice for her clients is a crucial part of the therapeutic process.
Look at this. Isn't it a hoot? And they're so funny. Yes, it's important. Did you discuss together the question of the Hague?
Yes.
What did you think about this?
Sultana Armitage may be called to testify against Slobodan Milosevic in his trial at The Hague.
We decided that she should go ahead because she has the facts and everything.
You know that I will come with you.
Oni pratar kam të çmon. Jam që të full gëmarrë ti më për shtofën të çefe më shku. Se më marr ti unë s'kisha shkuar.
If you come with me, of course. If you don't come, I wouldn't. We'll do it, yes.
I'll stay home.
No.
But the couple and their new baby do not have a certain future in the UK. They are claiming asylum. Helen is supporting their application.
She realised that you need to attend to the practical and the emotional, the physical and the psychological. You needed to attend to the political. There's no point in setting up an organisation that works with asylum seekers and not dealing with asylum and people's fears that they're not going to be able to stay in the country. From her earliest childhood, she must have been aware that she was in a refugee family and that people had to prove that they were good people in order to be able to stay in the country. So she was able to think about asylum as stage one.
They know great fear, but I've known one man who got beyond it and who said to me, let them send me back. What does it matter anymore? My life is nothing. Part of the work that we do in the Medical Foundation should be about reclaiming the past. And that can be quite a boisterous, quite a robust business, because people will be very angry with you when you try to bring them back into a different space, and they will rail, they will be angry, and they will say, you know nothing, you don't know. Because they fight, in a way, to remain in that space that is nothingness, because in that space they didn't feel. They survived, but they didn't feel.
Safe place.
It's a safe place, and it's a place which is devoid of feeling, but it is devoid of love.
Gamai was tortured over 30 years ago, yet he still lives with the constant pain of that experience.
I think sometimes, Gurmai, when we talk about difficult things as well, the leg gets stiff, doesn't it? Yeah, I think so. We're talking about some pretty difficult stuff today.
One of the most important lessons I've learned from my friendship with Helen is that we cannot afford to be bystanders in the face of atrocity. Helen's life and work have been extraordinary, but what is refreshing is that she still delights in the ordinary.
I remember you said once, I said, what would have happened if you hadn't perhaps gone to Belsen, or your life had taken another form? What else might you have done? And you said you thought, actually, I wouldn't have minded to have been a hairdresser.
No, I know, I always feel that, that it would have been quite comfortable to be a hairdresser.